Internet friends, Uncle Gary here. In this video I'm showing you how I took my dull and boring kitchen and with a basic tile backsplash turned it into a fabulous bright kitchen. And you can do this too. The first thing I did was I went to your local home improvement store and got some ideas because, well, they must have professionals design their ideas. You know, they're trying to sell you the stuff, so I looked through the tiles. Of course, you got to go through the sales tile. And then look through the rest of the varieties I had. And then I went to the tools. You got the thin set trowel. Oh, that's a big one. That's for a smaller tile, middle-sized tile. Yep, and there's the one I want. Small grooves for the tile that I'm using. And that's a grout float. You're going to need that. And of course, you're going to need sponges because you got to wipe the grout off with and clean it off. And this is termination strip. I went with a metal termination strip so I could bend the corners. Oh, and this is the different types of thin set that they got there. The thin set's the glue that holds the tile to the wall. I'm using the stuff that you mix yourself. And oh, here we go. These are spacers. And I'm going to need to cut the tile, and I'm using my grinder with a 4-inch stone cutting blade. And as you can see, it actually works pretty good. Now I'm making my own spacers here, and I'm using the cardboard that came from the back of the tile pieces. I just cut a bunch up. And there is the tile mock-up I did. So I just taped it on the wall to see which I looked like the best. And I come out with the center line at the lower portion of the tile. The first thing you got to do is prep your wall. I already cleaned off the grease where the stove is. And I'm primering some raw drywall compound. Now I installed new outlets and I made a video on that too. So now here I am mixing up the thin set. The thin set is the glue that holds the tile to the wall. And all you do is you mix it with water and you make it to the consistency of like a nice thick mayonnaise. You don't want it too thick, you don't want it too thin. And this is where the termination strip starts. Like I said, I bent the corner and that goes right underneath the tile. And I've started the tile here. And if you look, this is where the stove is. I put a temporary board underneath to hold the tile up so it doesn't droop until it stiffens up a little bit. Now when you're working around these outlets, make sure they are off. Buy yourself some longer screws. It's going to save you a lot of headaches. See, it's not very hard. The tile sticks right to the thin set. And then you use the cardboard spacers because it's about the same size as the grooves in between the tile. Now what I do is I like to put on the sheets and leave the small pieces around the outlets until I get them cut. I think I've got a couple cut already for this. So I can just take and back butter it just a little bit and put this small piece in there. So the thing with making a professional looking job is make sure all the joints are straight and the tiles are all flat and level. And if you look at the end of the video, I'm going to show you all the little imperfections that I left. I call them character. And only the person who put the tile in or a professional can see the character flaws. And the normal person won't. Because a normal person is going to look at this and say, man, this does look good. Make sure you look at the tiles too, see if there's any cracked ones or chipped ones. And the nice thing about the thin set that you mix yourself is you can do a little bigger spot. So here I measured multiple pieces. And oh yeah, if you're going to let the thin set sit for any amount of time, scrape it off, because once it gets hard and dried, it's really hard to get the tiles in there. So you want it all scraped off pretty flat if it's going to sit for any length of time. This is called back buttering. That's what I do for the smaller pieces because I already scraped this off, made it dry. And you just back butter the piece and you put it in there and press it down in. So here I am trying to make all the joints look nice and clean and straight and pretty with the little spacer pieces that I made. And you leave the spacers in there until everything is all set up. You can leave them in there overnight. That's what I normally do. Oh, see the tape on the countertop? Yeah, that makes it just a little bit easier to clean up. And I'll be leaving that on there until I start grouting, and then I'll take it off after I'm cleaning the grout. Yep, here's the termination strip on the very edge there. I made the edge look like the back of the Formica, and it come out really nice. There's a termination strip against the wall. It just made it look a little cleaner job. Yep, make sure you clean your tools out at the end. And here is a tip for you. An old mason told me, when you're working with a cement product, at the end of the day, wash your hands with vinegar and it'll puff them right up, because the cement product dries your hands out. Takes all the moisture out of your hands. Here it is the next day. I'm pulling out all the spacers, getting ready for grout. If you find any little bit of thin set that's poking out, you got to scrape it out, make it easier for the grout to go in the cracks. Yep, here we go, mixing grout now. And the grout's got to be like a mayonnaise consistency also. Grout is basically a very fine powder mix that's with cement that can be pushed in there, and it hardens up and fills all the gaps in. I'm starting where the stove is just to see how it goes on. And I do not tile all the way down the back of the stove because there's no reason to. I tile down far enough so that when you're standing at the stove and you look at it, you can't tell that it's not tile all the way down. Tiling all the way down the bottom of the stove is a waste of money, in my opinion. But if that's what a customer wants, that's what you're going to do for the customer. And here the customer is my wife. What I'm using is warm water and a sponge. There's a bucket of warm water down there. And I'll take the sponge and I'll wipe off the grout. And you're going to have to wipe the grout off 3 or 4 times to get the film off. But the first thing you do is, the first wiping you do is just to get it as clean as possible and make the grout lines flat going across the tile. And here we go. See the termination strip? Makes a nice clean edge. And that's what Little things like that make a professional looking job. So with this grout, because it's the stuff that we mix our own, you mix yourself, you can go a little further distance before you clean it off. If this was a pre-mixed grout, I wouldn't have went this far because pre-mixed grout seems to harden a little bit faster. And it's just warm water and a sponge I use to wipe it off. Hey, if you like what you've seen in this video, give it a thumbs up and leave a comment. Grouting is actually pretty relaxing. I mean, yeah, you can mess things up, but you just take your time and, oh, gee, we got some on the floor. Yeah, I put little pieces of cardboard down and stuff so that it's easier to clean up off the countertop. Remember, see, I put that tape down there until I get done doing the grout the first time, then it's easier to clean up. It makes a nice clean joint. Oh, time for a break. So I'm moving quite a ways with this grout. Just make sure the power is off because what you're using is it's a wet, it's kind of a wet concrete mix. And if you use a wet sponge and its power's not off, you may find you get shocked, and that's definitely not what you want. So make sure all the power is off when you're grouting and working around outlets. And here's another little thing you might want to check before you actually install the tile is make sure all the outlets are the same height from the countertop because I have one that isn't, and it's very noticeable at the end if you're looking for it. And I could have corrected it so easily if I just took and double checked the measurements. But yeah, you're going to have to wipe the grout off after it dries a little bit, 2 or 3 times to get the film off. And I'll be wiping it off again here shortly. Yep, make sure you get all the grout off the corners. Use a putty knife if you have to. Any grout that you can't reach with the sponge. It's the little details that make it look like a professional job. And hey, if you've got too much grout left at the end you're not going to use, have some fun with it. I made a stone for the garden with my handprint. So here's the outcome. I think it looks really nice. The wife is happy with it. It's very easy to do, and I think that if you want to do something like this, you're going to save yourself a lot of money and just have fun with it. Now here are all the imperfections or the character flaws. See, you got chipped corners that I didn't see. If you got some that are stuck out a little bit further, a little bit crooked. Oh, there's a cracked one. Just things to watch for when you're doing it. But in the end, when the average person is looking at it, when your friends are looking at it, they're going to say, man, does that look good? And they're not going to notice these little imperfections. See? I showed you a bunch of imperfections, and can you actually see them? Anyways, thanks for watching. And oh, by the way, it's time for the skunk to eat.